My fiancée wanted a break to date her ex, so I disappeared completely, and now she's desperate to find me. Life has a funny way of teaching you who you really are. Sometimes the lessons come gently, through small realizations that build over time. Other times, they crash into your life like a wrecking ball, destroying everything you thought was solid. My story is one of those wrecking ball moments, when the woman I planned to marry decided she needed a break to explore feelings for her ex-boyfriend. What happened next changed everything. This is the story of how I chose myself, disappeared completely, and built a new life while she was left searching through the ruins of what could have been the perfect life. Or so I thought. 4 years. That's how long Sarah and I had been together when I proposed. We met through mutual friends at a housewarming party. I noticed her immediately, laughing in the corner with a glass of wine, gesturing animatedly as she told a story. Something about her pulled me in like gravity. By the end of the night, I had her number. 3 days later, we had our first date at a small Italian restaurant downtown. The relationship progressed like something out of a romantic comedy. Weekend trips to the coast, meeting each other's families, moving in together after 18 months. We complemented each other perfectly. Her spontaneity balanced my planning. My calm steadied her occasional anxiety. We rarely fought, and when we did, we resolved things quickly. Communication was our superpower, or so I believed. I proposed on our anniversary at the botanical gardens where we'd had our third date. I'd arranged for her favorite flowers to be placed along the path to a secluded gazebo. When she said yes, tears streaming down her face, I felt like the luckiest man alive. We bought a house together 6 months later, a charming 3-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood with good schools nearby. We'd talked about having kids within the next 2 years. We had a shared spreadsheet for wedding plans, a joint savings account for our honeymoon fund, and matching coffee mugs with Mr. and future Mrs. printed on them. Her idea, not mine, but I used mine every morning. Life was perfect. Until it wasn't. The break that broke everything. I should have seen the signs. The slightly decreased enthusiasm when discussing wedding venues. The way she'd check her phone more frequently, always angling the screen away from me. The working late that happened 2 or 3 times a week when it had previously been rare. But love makes you blind, and trust makes you vulnerable. I didn't see what was happening until she sat me down one Tuesday evening in April, her expression serious in a way that immediately made my stomach drop. "We need to talk," she said. Those 4 words that have never in the history of relationships preceded good news. I set down the spatula I'd been using to make stir-fry for dinner, her favorite, with extra cashews the way she liked it, and turned off the burner. "What's up?" I asked, trying to sound casual while my heart began to race. She took a deep breath. "I've been in contact with Jason." Jason, her ex-boyfriend from 3 years ago. The one she'd dated for nearly 5 years before they broke up over his repeated infidelity. The one she'd once described as emotionally manipulative but magnetic. "Okay," I said slowly. "Wait a while. He reached out a few weeks ago. He's been through therapy, says he's changed. He wanted to apologize for how things ended." She twisted the engagement ring on her finger, the 1.8-carat diamond I'd spent 6 months saving for. "We've met for coffee a few times." "A few times," I repeated, my voice hollow. "And you didn't mention this because I didn't think it was a big deal at first, just closure, you know? But now—" She looked up, her eyes meeting mine. "James, I'm confused. Being around him again has brought up feelings I thought were gone. Before we get married, I need to be sure. The room seemed to tilt sideways. Sure about what, exactly? About us, about this being right. She gestured vaguely around our kitchen, at the life we'd built. I think I need a break, some space to figure things out. I stood perfectly still, trying to process what she was saying. You want a break from our engagement so you can explore feelings for your ex? The guy who cheated on you multiple times? She flinched at my tone. It's not like that. I just need to know for sure that I'm not making a mistake. That I'm not settling. Settling. The word hit me like a physical blow. After 4 years, a home purchase, a proposal, wedding planning, she wasn't sure if I was her settling for less than what she really wanted. How long of a break are we talking about? I asked, my voice strangely calm despite the hurricane raging inside me. I don't know. A month? Maybe 2? I can stay with my sister while I figure things out. I nodded mechanically. Sure, take all the time you need. That night, as she packed a bag with just the essentials, which somehow took 2 hours and filled a large suitcase, I lay in our bed staring at the ceiling, a single thought crystallizing in my mind. Our relationship was already over. She just didn't have the courage to end it cleanly. On the awakening, for the first week after Sarah left, I was a wreck. I called in sick to work, barely ate, and spent most of my time alternating between hoping she'd come to her senses and hating myself for wanting her back after such a betrayal. I scrolled through our photos, reread old text messages, and tortured myself by imagining her with Jason. Were they already sleeping together? Had she been seeing him longer than she admitted? Was I just a placeholder all this time? The safe option while she secretly longed for the excitement of her toxic ex? On day 9 of what I'd started calling the Great Pause in my head, bitter humor being my only defense, I woke up with a strange clarity. Maybe it was the first good night's sleep I'd had since she left. Or maybe something had shifted in my subconscious. But I suddenly saw the situation with crystal clarity. I deserved better than this. I deserved better than being someone's backup plan. The safe choice she returned to if the exciting option didn't work out. I deserved someone who was certain about me, who didn't need to test drive an ex-boyfriend before deciding if I was worth marrying. And more importantly, even if Sarah came back and chose me, could I ever trust her again? Would I spend our marriage wondering if she was secretly regretting her choice, or worse, keeping in touch with Jason just in case? The relationship was poisoned. There was no going back to what we had, no matter what she decided. That realization should have devastated me, but instead, it was liberating. For the first time since she left, I felt like I could breathe. I wasn't powerless in this situation. I had choices too. And I chose myself. The plan. Once I made the decision, I moved with a purpose and clarity that surprised even me. I wasn't acting out of anger or revenge. I was acting out of self-preservation and self-respect. First, I called Mark, my boss and mentor at the architectural firm where I'd worked for 6 years. I need a fresh start, I told him after explaining the bare minimum about my personal situation. Is that position still open in the Chicago office? Mark had mentioned the opportunity months ago, a senior role with better pay and more creative control. But I'd declined because Sarah's law firm didn't have a Chicago branch. Now that constraint no longer applied. It is, but I thought you were settled here in Boston because of your fiancée, he replied. Change of plans, I said simply. I'm available to relocate as soon as they need me. Next, I contacted a real estate agent. The market was hot, and our house, which we owned jointly, would sell quickly. Legally, I needed Sarah's consent to sell, but I knew she couldn't afford to buy me out on her salary alone. When I texted her about potentially selling the house, her response was immediate. "We need to talk about this. Can we meet?" We arranged to meet at a neutral coffee shop the next day. Seeing her walk through the door made my heart lurch, a reflex I resented. She looked beautiful but tired, with dark circles under her eyes that her makeup couldn't quite hide. "You're selling our house?" she asked after ordering her usual latte. "Isn't that a bit premature? It's only been 2 weeks." I kept my voice neutral, businesslike. "The market's hot right now. The agent thinks we can get 18% above what we paid. Financially, it makes sense to sell now." "But what about if I move back in?" she asked, her voice small. "That's up to you, Sarah. But I won't be there either way." Her eyes widened. "What do you mean?" "I've accepted a position in Chicago. I'm relocating in 6 weeks." "Chicago?" she repeated, sounding stunned. "But your whole life is here. Your friends, your family." "Things change," I said with a shrug. "This is a great career opportunity." "Is this because of the break?" "Because I can move back sooner." I cut her off, keeping my voice gentle but firm. "This isn't about punishing you. It's about me making the best decision for my life going forward. A break isn't just about you figuring out what you want. It's also about me deciding what I want and deserve." "And you don't want me anymore?" she whispered, tears filling her eyes. I sighed. "Sarah, you're exploring whether your ex-boyfriend is a better option than marrying me. That fundamentally changes things, regardless of what you decide. I respect myself too much to be someone's backup plan." "It's not like that," she protested weakly. "It's exactly like that," I replied, not unkindly. "And that's okay. You're entitled to your feelings and your uncertainty, but I'm entitled to make choices based on that reality." As I walked out of that coffee shop, I felt lighter than I had in weeks. I wasn't being cruel or vindictive. I was simply being honest about what I could and couldn't accept in a relationship. The next day, Sarah texted that she would agree to the house sale. I suspected she thought it was a bluff, a dramatic gesture to make her realize what she was losing. She didn't understand yet that I was already gone. The disappearing act. Over the next 4 weeks, I executed my plan with methodical precision. 1. I accepted the job in Chicago, negotiating a generous relocation package. 2. I put our house on the market. It sold in just 5 days for 22% above asking. 3. I hired a lawyer to handle the sale and ensure Sarah received her fair shares. I told only my parents and my closest friend about my plans to move. 5. I systematically sorted through everything I owned, donating, selling, or packing each item. Sarah texted regularly during this time, her messages becoming increasingly concerned as she realized I was serious about moving on. She still hadn't made her decision yet, but was getting clarity and wanted to talk about our future. I responded politely but briefly, never giving her any information about my plans beyond what she needed to know about the house sale. 3 days before I was scheduled to leave for Chicago, I did something that some might consider extreme. I changed my phone number, deleted all my social media accounts, and created new email addresses that I shared only with my parents, my best friend, and my new employer. I wasn't just moving cities. I was disappearing completely. My reasoning was simple: a clean break. No late-night texts from Sarah when things inevitably went south with Jason again. No mutual friends keeping me updated on her life. No digital tethers between my old life and my new one. On my last night in Boston, I wrote Sarah a letter. Not out of obligation, but because I needed the closure. Sarah, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. I've changed my number and email, and I've asked our mutual friends not to share information about me with you. This isn't about punishment or revenge. It's about giving us both the clean break we need. You asked for space to figure out what you want, and I'm giving you all the space in the world. I wish you clarity and happiness in whatever path you choose, but my path now leads elsewhere. Take care, James. I left the letter on the kitchen counter of our empty house, along with my copy of the keys. As I drove away, watching our home disappear in the rearview mirror, I felt a complicated mix of grief and liberation. A chapter of my life was ending, but another was about to begin. The new beginning, Chicago, welcomed me with its famous windy bluster and unexpected warmth. My new apartment, a modern loft in the West Loop, was nothing like our cozy colonial in Boston, and that was intentional. I wanted nothing that reminded me of Sarah or our life together. The first month was challenging in ways I hadn't anticipated. Despite my resolve, there were nights I lay awake wondering if I'd made a mistake. What if she had chosen me? What if this break really had been temporary? Had I overreacted? But as I settled into my new job, these doubts gradually receded. I threw myself into work, joined a local rock climbing gym to stay active, and slowly began building connections in my new city. 3 months after my move, I received an email from Tom, my best friend from Boston, the only one who had my new contact information. Hey man, hope Chicago is treating you well. Thought you should know that Sarah's been asking everyone about you, where you are, how to reach you, etc. Apparently, things with Jason crashed and burned pretty spectacularly. Surprise, surprise. I've kept my promise and haven't given her any info. She seems pretty desperate to talk to you, though. Just giving you the heads up. Miss you, buddy. Call me when you can. Tom. I stared at the email for a long time, waiting for the rush of vindication or satisfaction. It never came. Instead, I felt a quiet sadness for the woman I'd once planned to marry, mixed with gratitude that I'd trusted my instincts and moved on when I did. I didn't respond to the email right away. That night, I went for a long walk along Lake Michigan, watching the city lights reflect on the water. I thought about Sarah, about the life we'd planned together, and about how quickly everything had changed. I realized I no longer felt angry. I wasn't bitter, I was just free. When I got home, I finally responded to Tom. Thanks for the heads up. I'm not surprised things didn't work out with Jason, but that's her journey now, not mine. I'm doing well here. New job is challenging in the best way, and I'm starting to feel at home. No regrets about my decision. Tell her nothing, please. This clean break is the healthiest thing for both of us. And it was true. In the process of disappearing, I had found myself again. The unexpected encounter. 6 months into my new life in Chicago, I flew back to Boston for Tom's wedding. I knew there was a possibility Sarah would be there. We shared many mutual friends, but I felt ready to face her if necessary. The ceremony was beautiful, and at the reception, I was catching up with old friends when I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned to find Sarah standing there, looking both nervous and determined. The sight of her was like a punch to the gut, not because I still wanted her, but because of how familiar and yet strange she seemed. Her hair was different, shorter with bangs, and she looked thinner than I remembered. "James," she said softly, "you're really here." I nodded, keeping my expression neutral. "Hello, Sarah. Congratulations to Tom and Ellie. Beautiful ceremony." "You disappeared," she said, ignoring my small talk. "No one would tell me where you went. I tried everything to find you." "That was the point," I replied simply. "Can we talk? Please?" She glanced around the crowded reception. "Somewhere more private?" Against my better judgment, I agreed. We found a quiet corner of the garden, away from the celebration. "I made a terrible mistake," she began immediately, her eyes filling with tears. Jason hadn't changed at all. Within weeks, he was back to his old patterns, lying, manipulating, probably cheating, though I couldn't prove it. I ended things for good, but when I went to tell you, you were gone. The house sold, your number changed, your social media deleted. It was like you never existed. I listened silently as she continued her story. After our house sold, she'd moved in with her sister temporarily, unable to find an affordable place on short notice. She'd tried to trace me through mutual friends, all of whom kept their promises to me and revealed nothing. She'd even hired a private investigator who'd tracked me as far as Chicago, but couldn't pinpoint my exact location or new contact information. "I've spent months trying to find you," she finished, wiping her eyes. "To tell you how sorry I am, to see if there's any possibility we could—" "We can't," I said gently but firmly. "Sarah, I'm not saying this to hurt you, but what happened between us can't be undone. You needed to explore feelings for your ex before committing to me. That's not something I can forget or move past." "People make mistakes," she pleaded. "I was confused and scared of commitment, and Jason caught me at a vulnerable moment." "And all of that is understandable," I interrupted, "but it doesn't change the fact that you were willing to put our entire relationship on hold to test whether someone else might be a better option. That's not the foundation of a marriage I want to build." "So that's it?" she asked, fresh tears spilling down her cheeks. 4 years together, and you won't even consider giving me a second chance?" I took a deep breath. "Sarah, I don't say this with any malice, but I'm happy now. I've built a new life that I love. I'm seeing someone, actually." This was true. I'd been dating Melissa, an art curator I met at a gallery opening, for about 2 months. It wasn't serious yet, but it was honest and uncomplicated in a way my relationship with Sarah never had been. Sarah's face crumpled. "Oh, I didn't know. How could you? I disappeared, remember?" I said with a small smile, trying to soften the moment. "Are you happy? Really?" she asked, her voice small. "I am," I replied honestly. "Not at first. The first few months were rough, but now, yes, I'm genuinely happy." She nodded slowly, wiping away tears. "I'm glad. You deserve that." She hesitated, then added, "I still miss you every day." "You miss what we had," I corrected gently. "But what we had ended the moment you needed a break to explore things with Jason. Sometimes things break in ways that can't be repaired." As I rejoined the wedding reception, leaving Sarah alone in the garden, I felt no triumph in her regret or pain. This wasn't about winning or revenge. I hadn't disappeared to punish Sarah or to make her sorry, though she clearly was. I disappeared to save myself, to reclaim my dignity, to create a life where I wasn't waiting for someone to decide if I was worth choosing. And in that, I had succeeded beyond my wildest expectations. The aftermath and lessons learned in the weeks following Tom's wedding, Sarah tried to contact me several times through mutual friends. I maintained my boundaries, politely but firmly declining to reconnect. It's been almost 2 years now since I disappeared from my old life. Melissa and I are still together, taking things slow, but building something real and solid. My career in Chicago has flourished. I was recently made partner at the firm, something that would have taken years longer in Boston. Looking back, I can see that what felt like the end of my world was actually the beginning of a better one. Here's what I learned from disappearing. 1. Your self-respect is non-negotiable. When Sarah asked for a break to explore feelings for her ex, she was essentially saying, "I'm not sure you're good enough." Accepting those terms would have meant agreeing with that assessment. By walking away completely, I reclaimed my value and dignity. 2. Clean breaks heal faster than messy ones. By changing my number, deleting social media, and moving cities, I gave myself the gift of a truly fresh start. There were no drunk texts, no social media stalking, no mutual friends giving me updates I didn't want. The pain was intense but brief, like ripping off a bandage instead of peeling it slowly. 3. Sometimes the bravest choice is to walk away. Our culture celebrates fighting for relationships, never giving up. But sometimes, the strongest choice is to recognize when something is irreparably broken and have the courage to leave it behind. 4. The life you build after devastation can be better than the one you planned. I never would have moved to Chicago, never would have met Melissa, never would have discovered my passion for architectural restoration if Sarah hadn't asked for that break. What seemed like the worst moment of my life led to the best version of it. 5. Other people's choices are about them, not you. Sarah's decision to explore things with Jason wasn't a reflection of my worth or value. It was a reflection of her own issues and uncertainties. Understanding this was key to moving forward without bitterness. Many people have asked if I regret disappearing, if I could have handled things with more maturity or communication. Perhaps, but in moments of crisis, we make the choices we need to survive. I chose myself. I chose my dignity. I chose to disappear. And in that disappearance, I finally found myself. Epilogue. Last month, I received a small package forwarded through Tom's address. Inside was the engagement ring I had given Sarah, along with a note. "James, I've held on to this for too long, hoping for a different ending to our story. I understand now that returning to the past isn't possible. I'm sorry for the pain I caused you, and I'm trying to learn from my mistakes. I hope you're still happy in your new life. You deserve every happiness. Sarah." I closed the box, put it in my desk drawer, and went to meet Melissa for dinner. As we walked through our neighborhood, discussing our days and making weekend plans, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. Sometimes, the greatest gift someone can give you is the opportunity to disappear and find yourself in the process. And sometimes, the person who breaks your heart is the one who accidentally sets you free. If you found value in this story, please consider subscribing to my channel for more content about relationships, self-respect, and creating your best life after heartbreak. Share your own experiences in the comments below. I read and respond to every one.